If you remember a couple of weeks ago, Chris Hemsworth, I had to dab him up for him taking responsibility for the bomb that was Thor Love and Thunder. Now, it wasn't totally his fault, okay? He was claiming that he became a parody of himself, started to delve a little bit too much into the improv. Thor lost his serious streak that made him such a remarkable character in the early stages of the MCU, and it was nice to see somebody, instead of passing the buck, saying that I just did it for the money, I don't really care about the franchise. Chris clearly cares about Thor. He clearly cares about the health and well-being of that character, and people applauded him for that. Mostly because it's a breath of fresh air, even from his director from Thor Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi, just simply saying that I just did it for the cash, lol, ruin your mythos in a minute, baby. It's become a tired trope of people taking the Marvel bucks, doing it out of an obligation, and then just simply moving on. And like Chris was bang on the money about a week ago, he is bang on the money once again. He's talking about the old heads taking shots at the industry, and then also people taking the easy way out in regards to taking the Marvel money. Chris Hemsworth was bothered by Scorsese and Coppola's Marvel criticism as it felt harsh and was an eye roll. Says superhero curse exists in that you get pigeonholed. Well, and here's the thing, Chris Hemsworth can go ahead and talk about the superhero curse because he has transcended the role of Thor. Well, everybody's going to appreciate his portrayal as the Norse god in the MCU and highly anticipate his return if one is to ever manifest the same way that they look at Robert Downey Jr. He is very much Tony Stark, but he is also very much the Academy Award winner from Oppenheimer. He is very much a movie star. Chris Evans is very much Captain America, and that fact is going to be driven home ever so permanently in February of 2025, but his attempts to break out in the wider entertainment ecosystem have fallen flat on its face. But let's continue. Chris Hemsworth expressed frustration in an interview with the London Times over Marvel criticism made by some directors he considers to be personal heroes, such as Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola. Hemsworth is one of the original Avengers in the MCU. Yes, this Thor debuting in 2021 with a standalone movie, which I unabashedly and unapologetically love. I think it's great. It's a personal 8. It's probably like a 6. Looking at it objectively, and it's infinitely more watchable than anything that the MCU has put out recently. Yes, and starring in several Avengers movies through 2022. It felt harsh, and it bothered me, especially from heroes. It was an eye roll for me, people bashing the superhero space. Yes, Hemsworth told the Times. And those guys had films that didn't work too. We all have. Oh, yes, exactly. When they talked about what was wrong with superheroes, I thought, cool. Tell that to the billions who watch them. Were they all wrong? I mean, I haven't heard the criticism of Marvel from Coppola, but I know, Martin Scorsese saying that, superhero films, Marvel films aren't cinema. That entire discussion, and it's like, okay, just because you don't like them doesn't mean that they aren't cinema. You can say that they're theme park rides, you can say that they're roller coaster rides, all that you want, but those are objectively different things. It's like the old conversation, are video games art? Yes, they're art, but they're also video games. Like it or lump it, man. They're expressions of the human condition made to entertain, made to invoke emotions. That's what art is at the end of the day. You might like it, you might not like it, but it is what it is, to evoke a saying that I detest with every fiber of my being, but it bears true in this scenario. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that you can dismiss its artistic viability. So yes, as much as I love Scorsese and most of his films, he's wrong with that take. And like I said, I don't know Coppola's take, but I do have some appreciation for Coppola back there. Scorsese made his initial Marvel criticism in the fall of 2019, infamously calling those the movies theme parks and not real cinema. The Oscar winner later clarified that his frustrations were not about the quality of Marvel movies, but the dominance of them over the marketplace. Yeah, exactly. He was just big mad that none of his films were ever that popular as some of the most popular Marvel movies. Okay, you make different cuisine, man. If we're gonna go ahead and make a restaurant analogy, you're out there making filet mignon. Marvel, sometimes they'll have a good steak. Other times, yeah, it's ground beef. It's a McDonald's Big Mac. Okay, guess what? At the end of the day, just because you don't like McDonald's, it's still food at the end of the day. Sucks to suck. Coppola agreed with his longtime friend, explaining in a 2022 interview to GQ magazine that there used to be a studio films, now there are Marvel Pictures, and what is a Marvel picture? A Marvel picture is one prototype movie that is made over and over and over and over and over again to look different. Especially with that post-Endgame stuff, I don't actually disagree, but if there's a wider context to that, I would definitely be interested in seeing it. Because, yeah, most of the entertainment industry over the past few years have been scared so stupid because of ballooning budgets that they don't want to deviate from the strategy that worked in the past. I mean, yeah, the basic 3-act structure, the basic, monster of the week formula, he's not wrong. In this interview with the London Times, Hemsworth rebuked Scorsese and Coppola's criticism and said cinema going did not change because of superheroes, but because of smartphones and social media. Okay. Superhero films actually kept people in the cinemas during the transition, and now people are coming back, so they deserve a little more appreciation. Well, these aren't defenses that you necessarily need to run for the likes of Top Gun Maverick, for Oppenheimer, for stupid Barbie. It's just, okay, cinema going did not change because of superheroes. No, it's the superhero films changed and they ended up becoming intensely disposable. And the ones that were good, the ones that did resonate, did help people come back to the theaters. Hemsworth also took issue with Marvel criticism being made by actors who appear in the MCU. This is where I've got to give complete and total applause to Hemsworth because, yeah, okay. Well, I think that his defense of the beleaguered genre is a bit trepidatious, as much as I think it's the other side to the coin that is the Scorsese criticism, where it's just because he didn't like his critique doesn't mean that you have to make a false dichotomy. It's like, oh, you don't think that they're art? Well, you have to appreciate them because people are back at the cinema. And it's like, okay, cool. It's a totally different conversation. But here's where he totally and completely knocks it out the park. He did not name any names, but the Times mentioned Idris Elba. He once said it was torture making a Marvel movie, and Christian Bale, he criticized the monotony of working on Thor: Love and Thunder, said as examples. Okay, here's what Hemsworth had to say. It's like, they're films, they are successful. Put me in one. Oh, mine didn't work. I'll bash them. Hemsworth said, look, I grew up on a soap opera, and it used to bother me that actors would talk about the show with guilt or shame. Humility goes a long way. One of the older actors on Home and Away said, we don't get paid to make good lines sound good, but we make the bad ones work. That stuck with me. But hey, it's all a lesson. And if I ever went back to Thor, I'd wonder how we could change it again. And there's a superhero curse in the sense that you get pigeonholed, and I felt a little hamstrung with what I could do, so desperately wanted something to scare the shit out of me, and Furiosa did. What a great pivot that's right there, okay? But him also talking about, yeah, okay, you didn't like the film that you were a part of, okay? Sucks to suck, I guess, but doesn't mean that you have to denigrate the entire money-making industry, because there are passionate people. There are good films in that, and if you're just to simply throw everything down the river, throw the baby out with the bathwater, I mean, that's short-sighted and stupid. But yeah, I think that Mad Max Fury Road Furiosa prequel is supposed to be coming out shortly. Chris Hemsworth is going to be playing the big bad over the top of that. Listen, man, if it doesn't have Mel Gibson, it's not a Mad Max film. I'm not going to be paying attention to any of that stuff. But I hope it does succeed. I hope it does do good. Also because I know that there are people out there that did like Fury Road, that are a fan of the Mad Max franchise more so than I am. And then also, just because Hemsworth seems to be one of the few people in Hollywood that actually has his head screwed on right, hope it is a success. Hope it is one of the best in, I guess, the movies of 2024. But to take a look at the rest of the landscape, it's not like that's a high bar to cross anyways. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.